I want to talk about the SEC because there's a lot of buzz going around. Before the playoff teams were selected, it was like, how many SEC teams can we shove in the playoff, even though there's like a lot of three-loss teams? And Lane Kiffin over here on Twitter, crying, wham, wham, wham. Why aren't they putting my SEC? He's over here door dashing some wham burger and French fries nonstop. Now the SEC, there's one team left in the Final Four here, and it's a team that wasn't even in the SEC before. And all these other schools, Bama lost, South Carolina lost. Like, has NIL really that quickly shifted the power balance with the SEC and these other conferences?
I think that it's okay. I think the SEC is still the best conference. I think it's still the best conference in college football. I think a lot of people are saying that, oh, okay, well, it's obviously the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is very top heavy. I think that we see if you're going to make the argument that Indiana is pretenders, they didn't deserve to be in this playoff. Like, what the fuck? They suck. Look at what they've done. They played in the Big Ten. The Big Ten was not this like murderer's row. I mean, realistically, the Big Ten probably has the top 3 teams in the nation in Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. But the SEC was more consistently like had better teams. I mean, from top to bottom, it has better football teams that you want to play on a week in, week out basis. So if we're going to make the argument that Indiana was pretender, then you can't turn around and be like, okay, well, the Big Ten is better than the SEC. You know what I mean? I think that if you're playing your Mac and Always Sunny, I'm playing both sides. Like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? But do I think that the Big Ten has top tier talent and it has better like top end teams? Yeah, I mean, it is shown, but I don't think that the SEC is just some slouch, and I don't think that the SEC is just going to die off from here. Realistically, they're going to pour so much money into NIL and getting players into this. And realistically, we had talked about this before. One clip that like kind of plays in my head over and over again. Kirby Smart was talking about. I think it was after the Kentucky game. They're like, "What's the biggest difference?" And he was like, "It is the fact that players we're reducing the roster size, and two, players don't have to come here and sit anymore. They can go play for a smaller school. We are openly telling, like, I listened to Kirk Herbstreit. He was talking about his son was not really getting recruited to Ohio State, which he is an alum of Ohio State. And they were telling him, you should go to a MAC school. You should go to a smaller division school, get play, and then we'll recruit you after because we don't have the roster size for you. And so, like, these teams are telling players, like, hey, we just don't have it. And other players are looking like, okay, well, I can go here and I can sit for 3 years and hopefully get my chance. Or I can go play at a smaller school. I can go play at a Vandy. I can go play at Kansas. I can go play at BYU, make a bag, show teams what I am, raise my stock, and then come back in here. But that limits what you can do as far as the substitutions. Hey, we're not subbing in defensive linemen. We don't have 6 wide receivers that can each win a Heisman. We don't have a quarterback that is sitting behind. In the rare instance, you have an Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, but we've seen that is super rare. Once you get past QB1, it's done. So you just don't have the depth in these rosters that you did before, which the SEC was just hoarding guys just to say they had guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think you could still say SEC is the best conference from top to bottom, but we're getting a lot more parity in the good teams in each conference. Like like you said, the top 3 teams might be in the Big 10. And I think we're only going to see, especially, I know there's problems with the NIL era and like all the money issues and like regulating all that stuff, but I think what it's brought is, as we go further into the years of NIL, more and more teams are going to get more competitive, and we're not going to see like Alabama win 6 straight national. We're not going to see Georgia win a bunch of national. We're going to see a lot other teams become really good and compete, and it'll be a lot more parity in the playoff and in the championship games, which is like fun for me. as a viewer of college football. I mean, if it's not your favorite team, then like you're not really caring who's rooting. You just want to see good football. And so I think we're going to see a lot more good football. And that's what this NIL kind of era is doing. We're like you're saying, we saw BYU come up and be really good. Then Arizona State come up and be really good. Like these Big 12 schools are going to just keep getting better and better and potentially start to compete with the Big 10, with the SEC level talent. And I think Pac 12, if you look at the former Pac 12 teams, did really good this year. And them reforming that, give it a few years, they're going to be up there kind of with the Big 12, the ACC. They got teams in the playoff. They had a lot of teams right there. I think they obviously couldn't compete with the level of the SEC top schools, but they're on their way. Like the SEC is still really good. They're still the best top to bottom, but I think they have to be looking over their shoulder at these other conferences thinking the times are changing. Like we cannot just dominate recruiting that easily. And I think there's going to be top recruit guys who are looking at the situation and be like, you know what? I don't want to go to Georgia. I'm going to go to Arizona State because I like what they're building and they're going to pay me still a couple million. Like they're still going to pay me top dollar and I can go anywhere. I mean, look at UNLV this year was really good and they're not paying their quarterback like $10 million, $5 million. So yeah, the parity is going to be really intriguing going forward in these couple years.
Yeah, and I mean with UNLV, rumor has it they didn't pay their quarterback at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got the best deal in the country.
But I mean, let's stick on that fact specifically. I think that we're going to start to see more and more, like, because the SEC has the staunch defenses, they have good offensive lines, they have good running backs, they have all these weapons. Players are seeing that there is a clear path to play meaningful football. And especially if you are a quarterback, you can go and light it up. You can take the Shador Sanders route and play in the Big 12 and make your mark, still play meaningful games, have your team on the radar, but you don't have to be in the SEC anymore and play those really hard defenses.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. You guys let us know in the comments. Do you think the SEC is still the best? Do you think that other conferences are catching up? Let us know. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
All right, later.